Hello everyone, this is Lab 17.8.3 Packet Tracer Troubleshooting Challenges. And this is the lab setup. Let's make it bigger a little bit. And that's the steps or the lab itself. So this is the address table, the objective, troubleshoot common issues in a LAN. So what happens, the scenario or the background? After an update to the network, some devices were misconfigured. You must correct the configurations and verify that all the PCs can access the web server, R1, and the switches. In addition, all PCs should be able to access R1 using SSH. You should verify connectivity for both IP4 version 4 and IP version 6, except for the switches. So instructions, router 1 or R1 and all the switches has been pre-configured with the following: enable password, console password and admin username and password for SSH connection. Required number of hosts per subnet. IT is 50 hosts, marketing is 50 hosts, R&D is 100 hosts. If all configuration problems has been fixed, all devices should be able to ping each other and the web server. So let's get the address table again and let's go back to the lab. So let's start troubleshooting. Now this is the steps or the settings I mean in router 1. Let's start with router 1 anyway. R1, so the password would be, let's get the password again. So enable password Cisco ENPA55 console. Okay. So that's Cisco ENPA55. What's the password again? Ah, that's a capital C. Cisco ENPA55. And then enable. Let's get the enable password. And we're in. Show IP interface briefly. Let's make this one wide a little bit so we can see it. So let's go back on R1. Let's go back and look at the. Let's start with the computers. Let's click on IT. That's the PC. And let's check the address table. So I'm going to check this information. So that's the IP address, that's the default gateway. So I can see the IP address here is incorrect. Okay. So let's go back to the lab again just to check. The PC called IT looks like it has a misconfiguration in the IP address, so this one should be from these addresses, and the default gateway should be 62. So let's correct this one. We'll start 172.16.1.1. Subnet mask is /26. I think that's correct one, 192. And default gateway is end with 62, so it would be 172.16.1.62. Copy this one. This is IP version 6. I will just put it like this, and /64, and default gateway would be this one. Alright, so that's IT. I'm gonna close this one for now. Let's check marketing. So if we go back to the steps, so we're gonna check these settings. So let's put this one down a little bit. So IP address 172.16.65 and /26, that's 192. I believe it's correct. Default gateway is 126, it's the same. So this one we'll just copy, put it here, and over 64 we'll get go back to IT again. Just need to check something here. Okay, so the default gateway for IT is correct, and this one is link to local address. Yep, that's okay, that's invalid. Ah, there is a space. Yep, so we'll just close this one and go back to marketing again. Let's put it like this. Let's get the steps. So marketing, that's the correct one, /64, and default gateway. We remove the spaces, and then link to local address, and we remove all the spaces. Alright, so these two should be fine now, or correct information. Let's go with R&D. Let's check the R&D settings. So R&D settings, that's 1. So it's 172.16.1.129. Okay. Default gateway 172.16.1.254 I mean, sorry, and then subnet slash 25, that looks correct. 128. Now we'll copy this one. This is the IP address for version 6 and slash 64. The link to local address is correct and default gateway is correct. Alright, let's check the web. So would be this one. So this are correct one, we cannot change it, so we will not play with this. Now let's go to router 1. So router 1, let's go back again. Enable mode. So show IP interface briefly. Let's make this one wide a little bit. Okay, before we check R1, let's check if IT can ping and open the web server. So let's see the web server, that's the IP address. So let's check this one. If I go here, so I can see the web server, can open it. Okay, let's go back. So let's close this one. So after upgrade, some devices were misconfigured. All PC should be able to access R1 using SSH. We're gonna check this one. You should verify connection for version IP4 and IP5, IP version 6, except for the switches. We're gonna check that. You must correct the configurations and verify that all PCs can access the web server, R1, and the switches. So now IT can access the web server. Let's make sure of the rest. So marketing, let's open the web browser. We put the URL of the web server. Okay, so marketing cannot access the web server. That's one issue. Let's check R&D. So we'll put the IP address. So R&D can access the web server. IT can access the web server. Let's make sure again. Yep, but marketing cannot. So there is an issue in this connection. No, cannot. It's not opening as the rest. So we'll check R1 to S2. So according to the configuration, S2 VLAN 1 172.16.1.125 over 26, and the default gateway should be 172.16.1.126. So if we go to R1, so this default gateway is on G0 over 1, which is here. That's the IP address of the network on the router 1 on this interface. Let me think a little bit. So we need to check on S2 VLAN configuration. So let's go back to the lab. Okay, so here it shows that S2 on VLAN 1, it has 172.16.1.125/27. So if we go here, so it's same IP address but /26. So that's the problem now in S2. So we need to correct this one. So let's jump into S2. Let me put the password, enable mode. So we are in now, conft interface VLAN 1, and we'll correct the information. So it would be IP address 172.16.1.125, and then we put the subnet, correct subnet mask, which is 192. Alright, so we'll end right. And now let's see. If we close this one and we hover here, now it's /26. So let's go back here and we enter. Still request timeout, so might be something here. So gigabit Ethernet 0 over 1. It's okay, it looks here like gigabit. Let's show it here because I cannot show it you. I cannot highlight it with the mouse. Let's log in here. Okay, enable mode. Okay, now show IP address interface briefly. Let's make this one big a little bit. And let's go to the address table. So this is the one that is going to S2. Here, this is a port. It has an incorrect IP address. So we'll need to correct this one in the router itself. So let's go conft and interface G0/1 IP address is 172.16.1.126 and the subnet mask should end with 192. That's /26. Alright. Let's go back. We'll hover on this one again. So now it's a correct one. And let's see. And then let's take this one. This is IP version 6 address. So we'll say IP version 6 address and we paste it. Okay, and then we need to do the link local also. So we'll take this one. We see IP version 6 and then we paste the address and we'll say this is link local. IP version 6 address and then we paste the address and we'll say link local. Yeah, that's a correct command. All right, so we corrected this interface. Now that should be, let's test and see if it's working or not. So I just need the IP address of web server again. That's the IP address. And yes, now I can open. So all three computers now, IT marketing RD, can open the web server. That's one thing that we fixed. So if we check the steps, the results, so we've correct this one. Yep, correct here, correct here. Now next step is VTY lines. That's the SSH connection. So let's do that. Let's close this window. Here it said all PCs can access the web server. That we did. Can access R1. Of course it can access R1 because we can go through R1 to the web server. So that's alright. And the switches also, that's correct. Now the next part is all PCs should be able to access R1 using SSH. So let's do this. Let's go back to R1 and we'll just exit this area. Alright, so we'll say line VTY04 transport input SSH and login local. Let's see, end. There we are. Now let's verify the connectivity using SSH. So let's jump on one of the computers. So I will keep this. Let's close it. I'm gonna click on this one and let's open the command prompt. So we'll say SSH -L, and what was the user again that we are going to use? So we'll go here. So it's called admin1, and that's the password. So I'm gonna create the password. Sorry, I'm gonna copy the password. So let's say this is admin1, and so switch 1 is going through 161. So let's 172.16.1.62. Then it's asking for the password, so it would be admin1 PA55. Admin1 PA55. Okay, so let's check the result. Maybe so I've configured the connections, but looks like the username it's incorrect. So let's correct the username. So I'm gonna close these settings, and let's go back. R1 conf t, and let's check the username. So we'll say username admin1, and let's put the privileges at 15, and then secret. This is the password. So admin1 PA55. Let me check if this is the correct password. I believe that's it. I can remember it. Yep. So we'll do this one, and then we write. So the configuration is correct. Let's go back here. So if I'm going here, let's try to connect again. And yes, so I corrected the password, and then I can access R1 through SSH. So if I go back, I'm closing the settings, check the results, and now we've completed everything. Everything is correct. This is on the lab itself. You click on check results, and then it will tell you here if it's complete or not, and then you click on the assessment items. It will tell you what did you miss exactly. So we've done this, it was correct. This one was not correct. It means that the username on router 1 was not configured correctly. So I just corrected it, and now everything is correct. And that concludes the lab.